Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. I hope you all are having a wonderful Pride Month. And so for the month of June, I wanted to do a couple of different things. I've done the soapbox on Yuri on Ice recently that's been posted on Patreon and YouTube. I have a series that I want to do a review on that's going to hopefully be coming out next week. And I have a few other things I want to do that will probably bleed over into July, but that's fine. But I've had a lot of requests for a very specific movie to review, and I've had a lot of people say that they're like, Romania, you've seen a lot of boys love manga and you've watched a lot of boys love anime, but what about Yuri, which is girl love? So I wanted to try to find a representation of that, and probably one of the more popular ones recently has been Kase-san and Glories. And I've had actually quite a few requests from different people to review this movie. And so I was going to go straight into the movie with no extra context. And then I was told, I was told and saw a review that said that if you go into the film or the anime, it's important to kind of have a little bit of backstory about the manga. So what I've done today on my day off of work is actually go through, and there's only 5 volumes of the manga, so I went through and read the manga today. I read Kase-san, and it's funny because Kase-san and the Morning Glories is the first volume, and then they have different names after that. There's like Bento and Kase-san, there's like Kase-san and the Cherry Blossoms, there's all different names for them, but Kase-san and the Morning Glories is the first volume. So I went through the 5 volumes of the manga today. It is a surprisingly easy read. It was really easy to get through, and I really enjoyed it. But I wanted to review the movie. The OVA is an hour long, and so I wanted to react to it and then go back and talk through the manga and the anime OVA and see what's left out. Because I was told this OVA kind of jumps in. It jumps in after an arc of the manga has already happened, and so they recommended to go back and read the manga before you get into the movie so you're not confused. And so as I was reading, I'm like, oh, well, I don't think it'll be a major spoiler. So I'm very curious to know what gets adapted from the manga into this OVA. I'm very, very curious about it. But I'm pretty excited. I have never really watched a Yuri before. The only, Yuri couple I'm really familiar with is Sailor Neptune and Sailor Uranus from Sailor Moon. That's pretty much the only one I'm really familiar with. Unless, I'm sporting my Nobara style hair right now. And you could argue that Nobara and Maki and Jujutsu Kaisen are pretty much, right? So they're pretty much an item, right? Correct? So I ship it. But in any case, we are going to review Kase-san and the Morning Glories and then talk about the manga. I've got notes on my notepad here. I've got notes. And we're going to talk about it along with the anime. So I hope you all enjoy this reaction. Please feel free to comment down below. But yeah, let's review this, shall we? We are going to start this review here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Aww! Oh, that was really sweet. As sweet as that was, and it's like pure and wholesome. It's like powdered sugar in film form, in anime form. As really sweet and wholesome as that was, I was a little disappointed because so much from the manga was left out. And, which granted, here's the thing. Here's the thing that hurts the most about this, is that after reading the manga, they could have easily done a 6 to 8 episode little mini series, or they could have done, they could probably have stretched it out to 11 episodes. They probably could have done 11 episodes based on the manga. I think they could have. They probably could have done 11 episodes, because this is, an hour long, so it was like 2 whole episodes, and it covers a bit of what happens in volumes 2 and volumes 3, parts of it. But they skip a lot of parts and storylines that are all interwoven and connected for the sake of making this a coherent film, an OVA. But they really could have made a series out of this, and I'm really sad that they didn't, because there's so many themes that they kind of hint at in this, but the manga goes into such greater detail. So I want to run through the manga because I read the 5 volumes today and I was like, oh, this is so sweet. And then watching this, it was beautiful seeing this in animated form because the colors and the animation, it's such a weird combination because on the one hand, the setting kind of has that watercolor vibe like Daukisei, like Classmates, right? And it's dealing with these 2 high school students, very similar to Kusakabe and Rahito in Daukisei. But then the character designs is more akin to Seaside Stranger, so it's very interesting with that and has more of that vibe. But this deals with some similar tropes to Daukisei, like the idea of going to colleges, and there's a bit of contrast from how Daukisei handles it to this. But here's the thing. They skip over so much. I just kind of want to... I took notes, so I'm going to go over my notes with you all because I took notes on the manga, so we might as well talk about them. So the whole point of the Morning Glories, like they say, it can represent either fleeting love or an everlasting bond. It's kind of a double meaning. It can be either one. But the thing of it is that in Volume 1, Yamada plants these Morning Glories in her garden. Like, she is the student plant appointee. She is in charge of all the gardening on campus. And she's part of the horticulture club, and she takes care of all the landscaping on the school grounds, and she's very proud of it. Like, she weeds the school grounds, she plants all the flowers, she takes care of everything, she waters everything. She misses a lot of school functions because she's too busy taking care of this garden. And she's kind of a shut-in. She's not a shut-in, but she's very introverted. She's very quiet, which is a huge contrast to Kase, who is Kase-san, who is like the track and field star and is like basically living in her own sports anime out to the side. Like, she's off in her own sports anime world, and it's a totally different vibe than Yamada gives off. But anyway, Yamada plants these Morning Glories, and Kase-san comes over and admires them every day and admires the fact that she's pulling weeds. And in the manga, I love this part because in the manga, Kase says, I really admire that you were pulling all those weeds. You were doing it because you wanted to. You weren't doing it for praise. Meaning that Yamada is a genuinely hardworking individual that does things humbly and without expecting recognition. Like, she's doing this not because she wants people to praise her for de-weeding the school grounds, because she knows she's not going to get any praise for it. She's doing it because she wants to, and she wants to enrich the grounds and make it look better. And Kase-san really likes that. So, in the opening, we got that little montage. I wish they'd just gone ahead and started the montage and just started the whole thing from the beginning. And they could have just ended with them kissing rather than just have it as the opening credits. Because what happens is there is a track and field marathon that's being put on at the school, and everybody has to participate. And Yamada is terrified because she, 1, doesn't want to look bad around Kase-san, and 2, she's not a good runner. She's not athletic at all. So Kase agrees to train her, very similar to how in Daukisei, Kisakabe agrees to train Rahito to sing. So it's very similar, right? And then what I like about the manga with Yamada as our main character is that her monologues and her narration is very interesting. Like, you can tell from the get-go that she's struggling with the fact that she likes Kase-san because Kase-san's a girl. And she starts over and over again in the first volume. She's like, well, Kase-san's a girl, but I like her. And she keeps trying to justify it almost. Like, she'll be like, oh, Kase-san's like a tomboy, but she's cooler than any boy. And so it's like the whole first couple of volumes, she rationalizes that mantra over and over in her head, like, Kase's a tomboy, she's cooler than boys, to kind of make it seem like, you know, yeah, she's different, but she's still a girl, but I love her, and this is why it's justified. It's like she's telling herself that. And then also what's interesting is that Yamada is very self-aware and very self-loathing, which is terrible because Yamada is this sweet cupcake cinnamon roll of a girl, and she just really looks down on herself, and Kase-san is so supportive of her, and she's like, I don't care what you look like, I like you for who you are. And it's like, yes. But Kase agrees to help her train for the marathon, and then on the day of the marathon, Kase-san, it's announced because she's the one favored to win, and on the day of the marathon, it had been just an only girls event, and then on the day of the marathon, they decided to make it co-ed, and so people were afraid that a bunch of the guys would gang up and beat Kase-san in the race. And so she was really determined, and Yamada's like, it's fine, I'll be back there rooting you on. And as they start the race out, she notices that that a bunch of runners trampled through her flowers, and she's like, no! And so she goes to save her flowers, and she gets caught in the stampede, Lion King style, Mufasa style, and she gets taken down. And she ends up going to the infirmary with her best friend, Mikawa, and then that's when Kase comes in and talks to her, and they decide to go on a date, and she kisses her. And that's where this movie starts, is where all of that of Volume 1 ends. And so there's some things that this movie talks about from Volume 2, with Yamada-san being nervous. Like she says in the film, she's not dated anyone before, and so she doesn't really know what she's doing. And that's a part of the manga I really appreciated, is the idea of like a first love. When characters first start dating, there's all this awkwardness and nervousness and like, I don't know what we're doing. Because in some BL series that I've seen, everybody instantly knows what to do. it's like they instantly start making out and clothes come off and they're like, we've been doing this for years. We know exactly what we're doing. So it's kind of refreshing to see this high school girl that's never dated anyone. She has no clue what to do. She invites Kase-san over to her house, and Mikawa, the best friend, who at the beginning Mikawa was kind of annoying, and Mikawa was kind of like, the reason I didn't like Mikawa at the start of the manga was she almost seemed like she was judging Yamada for liking Kase-san, but then as you go on in the series, it's revealed that she's just very protective of Yamada as her best friend, and she's totally cool with them dating. Like, she doesn't have a problem with that at all. But Mika was like, oh, you invited her to your house. Yeah, do you realize what you're doing? See, they cut that whole part out of the movie. There's a whole plot in this where Yamada invites Kase over just thinking, oh, we'll just have a girls' night. And Mika was like, she's your girlfriend and you're inviting her over? Don't you realize that's kind of a big step? And she's probably going to expect some things. And Yamada's like, oh, for us to kiss? And Mika was like, you have no clue what you've just done. And she doesn't. And so Yui has no idea and gets her to come over. And then basically what happens in the anime OVA is what happens in the manga. It's a little bit more explicit. But Kase basically is like, are we going to do this? And Yamada's like, I don't know what do this means. It's like, oh no! If this were America and 2012, she would not understand what DTF means. Is basically what Yamada's character is, right? But there's also the aspect, and it's kind of brought up here in the anime, but not totally, but there's the aspect that Yamada is introverted and shy, and she really only has one major friend, and that's Mikawa, whereas Kase is super popular, like the star of the track team, like is instantly friendly with everybody and has lots of friends, and Yamada's kind of jealous of that. She's like, I don't know. She's like, I don't want you to be cheating on me, but I don't think you are, but I don't know. So we get a lot of her inner monologue and inner dialogue about those emotions, and I really like that in the manga. And that whole rooftop scene where Kase-san takes her to the fence, how it's translated in the version I read was, you never looked up at me, but I was always looking down on you. And then she's like, oh, that sounds really creepy, right? But I like the idea that Yamada realizes that Kase's liked her for a while, and she's just now admitting all those feelings. There's also a big point that's not brought up in the anime, but it's brought up in the manga about body image, and it's sort of kind of in the locker room revealed a little bit, but not too much. Yamada, something I really relate with her character is this idea of body image, like how we view ourselves. And in the manga, Kase-san's got like a perfect body. She has like big boobs, like a perfect figure. She's athletic. She's toned. Like, she has a very good body and is very attractive. And Yamada is like, I'm flabby and I have like B cups and I don't have a big bust and I don't look as pretty as you. And there's a lot of her talk about body image. And I love Kase in this because she's like, I love you for you and who you are as a person. She's like, I don't care what you look like. It's like, it's so sweet. It's wonderful. But yeah, so there's a whole beach scene that is totally left out when they go to Osaka. When they travel to the beach, there's a big thing with Mikawa and them trying on bathing suits and stuff that's kind of cut out for time's sake. But we get to talk about colleges. And the whole thing that's kind of excluded from this conversation is that Yamada's mother is an alumni for that women's university that she says she's an alumni from the local college. And so she wants Yamada to go to it because she's an alum. She thinks their program's great, and she wants her to pursue literature because that's what she thinks she likes. And Yamada, when she finds out Kase may be going to Tokyo, she starts researching universities and finds out that Tokyo has a horticulture university, which I think is the coolest thing. A university just for horticulture. I love it. So she's debating on enrolling in that, but she's afraid to tell her parents, her mom, first of all, because her mom's going to be mad that she's not going to her, alma mater. But then the mom doesn't really know about Kase-san at all. So, Yamada doesn't want to admit that relationship just yet and doesn't want to get Kase involved. So it's very interesting. There's also an entire subplot about the senpai. We got the phone call where Kase was like, "Oh, hey, senpai," but we didn't get anything else. The one that was on the train was not the senpai. She was one of the coaches. But the senpai is Inoue, is Azu Akane Inoue. And she kind of looks like Inoue from Bleach. She has the red hair, and she is going to the same university as Kase is. And there's a whole subplot where Kase has these fruit drops. They're kind of like, if you've seen Grave of the Fireflies, they're the fruit drops in the tin cup. She's got the fruit drops, and she's giving them out to her classmates, and Yamada asks for one, and Kase instantly throws her a green sour melon one. And Mikawa, the friend, is like, "Why did you do that? She doesn't like sour food. She likes sweet strawberry. That's the flavor that she likes the best." And Kase says, "Oh, sorry, force of habit." And that makes Yamada really, jealous and, force of habit. Like, were you dating someone else? Like, did they like the green melon drops? What's going on? And you find out that they weren't. It's kind of like a misdirect. It's a big red herring in the series because you meet Inoue, and she comes across as being, the perfect person for Kase. She's, athletic, she's brash, she's bold, she's really high-strung, and you think that she's going to be the one that's going to try to take Kase away from Yamada. And at first it seems like it is because she kind of threatens Yamada at first, but you find out later it was a test. She was testing Yamada to see if she was really dedicated to Kase, and then you find out that her and Kase were never dating. It was just a rumor. And so it's an interesting storyline, but I can see why they cut it. But if you hadn't read the manga, it might have been a little confusing. And then so Yamada takes the entrance exam for Tokyo. There's talks of them moving in together, even though by the end of the manga they don't move in together. They just live in a separate apartment. And the best friend ends up in Tokyo too, but in a vocational school, but she's just flying by the seat of her pants. The best friend does mention, she's like, "I heard a rumor that Kase and Inoue were dating, and I don't know if it's wise for your girlfriend to get chummy with her ex. You might need to communicate with her." Because that's a big theme of this series is communication and voicing your concerns about relationships. And that helps the relationship grow stronger. And so that whole point of communication is brought up later when Yamada's like, "Oh, was Inoue your girlfriend, and why are you still hanging around her?" And Kase's like, "She's not my girlfriend. Who told you that?" And it's all a misdirect. So there's also a culture festival that happens, and Kase doesn't want Yamada to wear the maid outfit because she thinks people are going to hit on her, which is kind of funny. Kase's kind of jealous too. And I like the theme of it that Kase likes Yamada for who she is. Yamada goes through a lot of the series questioning herself and her body image and whether she's good enough for Kase-san. And Kase-san's like, "Yeah, you're good enough for me because I love you, and I said you're good enough for me." So it's really cute. It's a cute series. By the end of the series, Kase asks to call Yamada by her first name, Yui, and she says, "Oh, you can call me Tomoka, which is my first name." And Yamada tries it, and then she's like, "It doesn't sound right. I don't like it." But it's a really cute series, and it was really fun to read today. I had the day off, and so I was like, I'm just going to read. I had planned on reacting to this anime to begin with, but then when I saw that people were recommending to read the manga first, I was like, okay, well, I've got the day. I'll read the manga. And I really enjoyed it. And so watching this anime OVA, I was like, man, this was cute, But I could see how if you had no context to the manga, that it would seem kind of oddly paced perhaps, and like it was missing a bunch of scenes. Because it is. So if you get a chance to check out Kase-san and the Morning Glories, I highly recommend it. It's a very, very fun series. It's very cute and fluffy. I find it interesting that in Daokusei, the whole concept of them going to different universities, in Daokusei they decide to just work it out and work through it and make it work. But in this series, they both kind of come together and decide to go to the same university. So it's interesting. It's an interesting contrast. They both end up working out in the end, both decisions with each story respectively, but it's interesting that they both chose a different way to handle that topic. So yeah, this was really cute, and I'm glad to see it animated, but I feel like, there's so much more. Like, there's so much more romance, there's so much more plot lines, there's so much more if you get a chance to read the manga. It's only 5 volumes, and it's only 24 chapters total. So it's not that long of a read at all. It's really easy to read. It's very cute. Yamada, she reminds me a lot of Yashiro from Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, and she is just so precious. She is more precious in the manga than she is in this, but in this it was a really good adaptation. But like I said, if you get a chance to check out the manga, I highly recommend it because it's very, 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 very good. But anyway, I wanted to get some different kinds of representation here on the channel for Pride Month. I do have another series I want to talk about next week, and so I'll keep that hushed for now. But in any case, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you guys thought of the film. If you've read the manga, what you guys thought of the manga. I basically spoiled it for you, but it's one of those cute series that even if you know what's going to happen, it's definitely worth checking out. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please let me know what y'all thought. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to y'all again real soon. Bye.